The keepers of balance, the protectors of the world as we know it. That's the purpose of the Gotei 13, the primary military branch of the Soul Society. The responsibility of maintaining the balance of souls across different planes of existence is a demanding task. Over the centuries, the 13 divisions have faced numerous enemies and crises. Leading such organization requires an exceptional set of skills. The role of commander, the supreme leader of the Gotei 13, is no ordinary position. Wisdom, strength, and intelligence are the minimum requirements for the job. Of the countless Shinigami who have lived in the Soul Society, only 2 have ever held this esteemed title: Yamamoto Genryusai, the founder of the Gotei 13, and Kyoraku Shunsui, the former captain of the 8th Division and one of the oldest and most formidable Shinigami in the Seireitei. Comparing these 2 characters might seem unnecessary. After all, they assumed the role of commander in different moments and faced relatively distinct challenges. However, such a comparison is inevitable because they are the only Shinigami to ever ascend to this position. Between Yamamoto and Shunsui, who could be considered the better commander? Who led the 13 divisions in the most effective way given the moment in time in which they exercise the role? This is not exactly a simple question, given the unique trials the Soul Society has endured throughout its existence. Yet, I believe it's possible to reach an objective conclusion, and trust me, the answer might just surprise you. Of course, I also want to remind you that in case you like this video and this analysis, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It is certainly one of the best ways to support this content. In order to approach the question properly, we need to establish clear parameters for the comparison. Choosing parameters can be a very subjective task. I'm sure we could all define dozens of different metrics to analyze leadership qualities. However, for the sake of simplicity, I believe 5 universally essential traits for a commander, particularly of the Gotei 13, are sufficient. These parameters are strength and combat techniques, decision-making, people management, being a figure of authority, and discernment, or wisdom. All of these qualities are crucial for the position of General Captain of the 1st Division in the Seireitei. Both Yamamoto and Shunsui possess these traits to varying degrees. The idea is to evaluate them using a point system. Whoever demonstrates superiority in each quality earns a point, and the one with the majority of the points will be considered the better commander of the Gotei 13. Let's begin. Both Shunsui and Yamamoto are 2 of the strongest Shinigami in the history of the Seireitei. However, truth being said, this parameter is quite simple to analyze, really. Shunsui might be an intriguing character in combat. His Zanpakuto Katen Kyokutsu has one of the most original powers in anime that I have ever seen in my life. Turning kids' games into your power is certainly a very curious way of dealing with any opponent. His Bankai, Karamatsu Shinju, is both powerful and beautiful, creating an entire theatrical performance in order to lead and guide the fight into Kyoraku's hand, but being also a spectacle that he's a part of, therefore suffering the consequences of it. But the truth is that almost no character in the entire Bleach universe can compare to Old Yama in terms of strength. The power of Ryujin Jaka is overwhelmingly destructive, making it by far the strongest fire Zanpakuto to ever exist. For thousands of years, Yamamoto was uncontested as the strongest Shinigami in the Seireitei. And here I need to emphasize Seireitei as not being the royal palace, because the Zero Squad is not really considered in this equation. Even Aizen acknowledged Yamamoto's superiority during their confrontation, knowing he needed to seal Ryujin Jaka's flames to have any chance of defeating the commander. Moreover, Zanka no Tachi, Yamamoto's Bankai, is not only absurdly powerful but also expands his combat versatility through its east, west, south, and north forms. In a direct comparison with Shunsui, it's clear that Yamamoto is much stronger, and therefore earns the point here. Decision-making is not as straightforward to evaluate for a commander of the Gotei 13. A substantial part of the responsibility for governing the 13 divisions lies with the Central 46. Many critical decisions, such as applying the death penalty or determining the hierarchical structures of the divisions, fall under the jurisdiction of Central 46, thereby limiting the general captain's authority. Regardless of these bureaucratic constraints, some of Yamamoto's decisions were, I would say, highly questionable. For example, Yamamoto did not consider Yamamoto a major threat during the Blood War. Yamamoto himself criticized Yamamoto for bearing the burden of existence alone and refusing to seek help from humans, such as Ichigo during the conflict with Aizen, or asking Inoue to restore his lost arm. Yamamoto's lack of pragmatism often led him to avoid utilizing available resources, resulting in unnecessary risks. In contrast, Shunsui demonstrated decisive and pragmatic leadership during the Soul Society's greatest crisis, a crisis partially caused by Yamamoto's poor judgment, I might add, but we're gonna come back to this point later. Shunsui made bold decisions immediately, such as teaching Zanjutsu to Zaraki Kenpachi, despite the Central 46's opposition, recognizing its necessity against the Quincy threat. He also enlisted Aizen Sosuke's help, understanding that defeating the Quincy required extreme measures, and this one was a huge risk considering who Aizen is. The truth is, Shunsui was unafraid of bureaucratic backlash or resistance from even other Shinigami, which is perfectly exemplified by his dialogue with Rukia, Byakuya, Renji, and a bunch of other Shinigami when they realized he was about to release Aizen from his constraints. His quick and effective decision-making earns him the point in this category. Now, to evaluate this parameter, we'll have to focus on the personalities of the two commanders and their ability to manage subordinates, while dealing with the hierarchical structure of the Seireitei. Yamamoto was a serious, rigid leader who served as a role model and even a father figure to some captains. He could quickly resolve conflicts and establish order within the Gotei 13. However, his inflexible temperament and stern demeanor made him a challenging leader to approach compared to Shunsui, who is naturally more personable. Shunsui's kind and conversational nature allowed him to foster cooperation without resorting to strict orders, avoiding potential resentment among his subordinates. His supportive temperament and ability to balance kindness with decisiveness give him the edge when it comes to people management. If he wasn't as decisive and as sharp as he was when he needed to be, I would probably argue that Yamamoto's style of leadership is more effective, but Shunsui seems capable of finding the perfect balance, therefore guaranteeing the point for this particular parameter. Now, when it comes to authority, few characters can rival with Yamamoto. His power, tone, demeanor reflects an obvious aura of respect and command. His presence is striking, and his absolute stability mirrors the flames of Ryujinjaka. Shunsui, while capable of leading and inspiring, lacks the same commanding presence. In fact, one of his first acts as a commander was to appeal to Yamamoto's authority, reminding the captains of how disappointed he would be with them if he could see how they were losing control of themselves while facing the crisis against the Quincy. Besides, Shunsui's reluctance to take on leadership responsibilities further underscores this contrast. We all know that because of his past, taking the responsibility of bearing other people's lives is not something that he feels particularly comfortable doing. His personality and temperament naturally drags him away from this type of position, and he didn't exactly accept the position of commander with open arms. Obviously, he can be a great leader, but it's not exactly like he loves the fact that he has to hold this responsibility in his hands. Yamamoto's unparalleled authority secures him this point. With the score tied, the final parameter becomes decisive. Discernment, the wisdom needed to lead through crisis, is arguably the most critical trait for a commander of the Gotei 13. And here, to be completely honest, some people will probably dislike the opinion I have, but I truly think Yamamoto's discernment was often lacking. He accepted the Central 46's judgment during the holification incident without enough questioning, failed to detect Aizen's experiments, and delayed recognizing the true enemy during Ichigo's invasion in the Seireitei. while captains like Zaraki Kenpachi, Ukitake Jushiro, Toshiro Hitsugaya, and even Shunsui himself were able to understand what the situation actually was much sooner. Yamamoto even got to the point of almost fighting Shunsui and Ukitake together, which, thinking retrospectively, shows how unaware he was of the truth of the situation, and how precipitated he can be. Additionally, his reliance on his own power, as justifiable as that is considering how strong he was definitely part of his downfall, as we could see during the fake Karakura town battle, in which Aizen was able to use an altered Arankar to seal the flames of Ryujin Jaka. As if all of that wasn't enough, I can also point out what I consider to be his greatest failure, which was to eliminate Yhwach 1,000 years ago. The reason why I say he failed to eliminate Yhwach is because he seemingly admits that he failed to do so during a dialogue with Mayuri. This particular scene was truly striking for me, because Mayuri is clearly accusing Yamamoto of failing, and Yamamoto can't even give a response like he would probably usually do to his subordinates that talk to him like that. The entire scene seems to be constructed to let the audience understand that Mayuri had a point. In contrast, Shunsui's leadership during the Blood War showcased a very strong discernment. He maximized the resources at his disposal, including entrusting Nanao with her Zanpakuto during the confrontation with Lilibaro. Shunsui's willingness to challenge Central 46 and make sacrifices highlights his understanding of the dire situation and his resolve to restore order. His discernment earns him the final point. And I know this can feel very controversial, but I truly believe that winning 3 out of the 5 parameters makes Shunsui the greatest commander of the Gotei 13. I understand it can feel kinda strange to consider anyone in Bleach as a better commander than Yamamoto Genryusai, especially when strength and power are part of the equation. However, I've always felt a lingering sense that Yamamoto fell short of his full potential as a leader. While Shunsui has far less experience in the role, his ability to navigate the Soul Society through its greatest crisis, make bold decisions, and shoulder immense responsibility even though he never wanted to, demonstrates his exceptional capability. If anything, his actions highlight his potential to surpass even Yamamoto as the greatest captain of the 1st Division and the most effective commander the Seireitei has ever seen. If you like analysis like this, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like in this video. It's a great way to support creators you like, and it's always highly appreciated. There should be another video on your screen right now that I'm sure you will enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.